In a BBC article, they cited studies in which researchers found that men thought about sex once every 7 seconds. But when you think about that, once every 7 seconds comes out to about 7,200 times every day. We thought that this number is completely inaccurate, so we decided to set up an experiment that would answer the question, do men really think about sex every 7 seconds? Our hypothesis is men think about sex less than every 7 seconds. And our null hypothesis is men do not think about sex less than every 7 seconds. While figuring out what our procedure would be to test our hypotheses, we realized that the intimacy of this topic would affect men's responses if we surveyed them in person. We took a different approach and decided that anonymous clickers would be used instead. We would randomly take 100 men between the ages of 18 and 22 and hand them a clicker at 9 a.m. For 24 hours, they would keep the clicker and click whenever they thought about sex. We would have access to the clicker's data, so we could analyze it, but we would make sure to tell all 100 men that their data is anonymous because we can't tell who is using which clicker. This method would be the least likely to bias the data of the observational units, or the men.
The two main sex hormones in human beings are testosterone and estrogen. Men and women have both of said hormones. However, men primarily produce testosterone and women primarily produce estrogen. Testosterone is an androgen hormone that is produced in the testes in men and the ovaries in women. Testosterone, which is known as the hormone of desire, controls libido and regulates sperm production in men, along with promoting growth and muscle mass and increasing energy. On average, men 19 years old and up produce about 8 to 10 milligrams of testosterone a day, while women 19 years old and up produce about half a milligram a day. Since it has been proven that testosterone is the main hormone that influences sex drive, it would make sense for men to therefore have a stronger libido, causing them to think about sex more often than women. Both estrogen and testosterone play roles in a woman's sex drive, but since testosterone is the main influencer in both sexes, and men typically have a lot more of it than women, men are more chemically inclined to need or think about sex on a regular basis.
According to a study that was published in the Journal of Sex Research, men do think about sex more than women, but not by much. Researchers learned that, on average, men think about sex 19 times a day. The average woman thinks about sex 10 times a day. If a man did think about sex every 7 seconds, his number would be 8,000 plus times a day, just during his 16 waking hours, according to WebMD. Other findings from the study? Well, there was quite a bit of variability between different people. While some thought about sex only a handful of times a day, others, both men and women, thought about it 100 times a day or more. Also, researchers noted that the more comfortable someone was with his or her sexuality, the more likely they were to think about sex.
All right, just to wrap things up, we are going to conclude that after these conducted procedures, we were able to note that the more accurate responses were done anonymously rather than in person, due to some awkward reactions and possibility of some dishonesty. We can conclude that men think about sex about 20 times a day. This happens due to the main hormone with men, testosterone. Thank you.